The Chattahoochee Riverwalk in Columbus, Georgia just might be one of my favorite trails ever. As Billy Crystal would say when he was imitating Muhammad Ali, it just might be the greatest of all time. Sorry, that impression needs work. Today I'm taking a little spin on an e-bike. And no, don't get too excited. I have not purchased an e-bike. This is one of those rental bikes that the city of Greenville, South Carolina makes available. B-Cycle, they call it. I'm out on the Hencappy Path, part of the Swamp Rabbit Trail in Greenville, South Carolina, named for famed pro cyclist George Hencappy, who ran into some trouble a little while back, but you know, we ain't gonna talk about that. So recently I was exploring an old hard drive, digging around a little bit in there, and I found some content from back in 2020. As a matter of fact, I found the first Joyful Trails episode, and it was a two-parter. It was a cliffhanger. Part 1 and Part 2. It was the first episode I ever created intending to post, and I believe for some reason or other I got cold feet and just never did put it on the internet. Until now. So the Chattahoochee Riverwalk in Columbus is a fantastic trail. Awesome bridges, great hardscaping by the city, some great public art, and of course, the magnificent Chattahoochee River. Always right there, trailside. So I do hope to return to Columbus in the not too distant future to give it a proper 2024 Joyful Trails treatment. But for now, this is just gonna have to do. I thought it would be fun to share this because regular viewers of the channel will get a kick out of seeing how things began and comparing how I did things on the very first episode to the way I do things now. You will notice some differences. You will notice some similarities as well. Enough chit-chat. Let's get right to it. Let's rewind the VCR, press play, and see if we can find a little joy in the journey. Who says you can't go home again? You can. And when you do, you should take your bike. Welcome to this edition of Joyful Trails, the YouTube channel where I explore and review bicycle trails so that you can decide whether you would like to go and explore them yourself. We're coming to you via the modern miracle of online video. I'm your host, Scott Bachman, promoting life, liberty, and the pursuit of bicycle trails that inspire. So I'm originally from Alabama, but I was born in Columbus, Georgia. So what had happened was Columbus had the better hospitals. So even though we lived in Phoenix City, I was born in Columbus. I was born a Georgian on a technicality, if you will. So I decided to return home to Phoenix City, Alabama and Columbus, Georgia to explore the Chattahoochee Riverwalk in Columbus. So after parking for free on the Phoenix City side, we'll glide across the Frank K. Martin pedestrian bridge. And then when we get to Columbus, around 14th Street or so, we're going to turn left and head north to first explore the North Trail of the Chattahoochee Riverwalk. Now this is a beast of a trail. It's 22 miles long. Don't worry, we're not going to explore the whole thing. We're just going to hit the highlights. Enough chit chat, let's hit the trail. Alrighty then, here we go. Now, one of the first things you'll notice is no people. Where are the people? Well, I'll explain that a little later on. This covered bridge is one of the first things I came to that I absolutely loved. Touches like this make a trail really special. You'll notice the center line. That really helps for times when the trail is much more crowded. And this trail is a good width as well. There's plenty of room. Oh yeah, now watch this as we turn off into a little semicircle pull down or pull off, I would call it. Look at these views of the Chattahoochee River and how close you are to the river. Yeah, You like that, don't you? Yeah, I like it too. Another great place to get close to the water. And by the way, there's Willie. Say hi to Willie. Yes, my bike's name is Willie. What? You think that's weird? I mean, your dog has a name, right? My bike and I are very close. Look, speaking of close, look how close you can get to the Chattahoochee River. There are excellent views of the river all along the Chattahoochee Riverwalk, as you might imagine. So not far beyond that bridge, I came to the North Trailhead. And so I just did a little U-turn and decided to go back the way I came. There's plenty yet to show you, including a good look at the North Highlands Dam. Here's what it looks like from the Chattahoochee Riverwalk. I took this picture myself. We are now approaching one of my favorite parts of the North Trail of the Chattahoochee Riverwalk, and that is this area that I think it was the old Bib Mill, and now they've turned it into an event or venue center, you know, for weddings and anniversary parties and Christmas parties and such. Look at the hardscaping, the brick, the concrete, the metal. But most of all, the views of the river. Check that out. You know, I mentioned that you won't see very many people on the trail. It's because the time that I chose to visit the trail, it was a weekend back during the, what should we call it, the bug scare of 2020. You know what I mean? When everybody was hunkered down in their houses and 40 million people lost their jobs. Yeah. So you won't see a whole lot of people on the trail. I pretty much had it to myself for the most part. There's excellent signage all along the Chattahoochee Riverwalk. This one provides a great photo op. Now check out this series of bridges. 3 in a row. Columbus, good job on this. And of course, right next to the Chattahoochee River. The river seems to always be right at your side when you're on this trail. Now, as we approach uptown Columbus, you'll notice that the trail has changed back to asphalt. And here's a nice old railroad bridge that we're going to pass under. And you'll notice a few people out braving the bug of 2020, we'll call it. They said, hey, we got to get out of the house and have some fun. Hey, check out the trail on this section as we head back towards uptown. The inlaid brick, the benches, the concrete, the fencing. It all just works together. Excellent job on this, Columbus. And of course, as you look over to the right, there's the river. And if you're a history buff, you'll enjoy the fact that as you get back to where the old textile mills actually stood, there are several markers, historical markers, cornerstones, arches, windows, that sort of thing, that have been preserved to help you learn about the history of the mills. As a matter of fact, my mom worked for a number of years in the administrative offices of one of those mills. And here's a picture of what she would have looked like at about the time that she worked at the Muskogee Mill in Columbus. You are watching Joyful Trails, a wild and wacky gathering of bicyclists who just want to have fun. I'm your host, Scott Bachman. Please watch safely and responsibly. I, as your host, assume no responsibility for any lost or stolen valuables or injuries incurred. Lots of people take advantage of the fishing opportunities. You'll see them out fishing from boats. You'll see them with cane poles and rods and reels there on the side, on the banks. You'll see people fishing all over the place. I'm just going to shut up for a few minutes and allow you to enjoy the view because it is stunning. There's the bridge that takes you to Victory Drive in Columbus, Georgia. We're on the south trail of the Chattahoochee Riverwalk down below Uptown, and it was a beautiful day for riding. There are several spots where you can get pretty close to the river if you want to just do some praying or maybe some meditation. Take a book or a journal. Look at that. Do some writing. Allow yourself to be inspired while you're there. This is probably my favorite part of the South Trail. Very unique structure, fun to ride a bike through. There's a rollerblader up ahead. Let's see if we can, she looks a little unsteady. Let's see if we can squeeze by her. Oh yeah, no problem at all. Riding bikes is fun. I would not want to be carrying a 2-year-old. Of course, I've been there and done that, so I kind of paid my dues on that front a long time ago. Yeah, here's another one. That's not a 2-year-old. Put her down and make her walk. signage along the way to let you know where you are on the trail. Now, as we continue south, it's starting to change. The river's changing a little bit. Not quite as beautiful. Looking, I don't know, I'd say a little more murky. Maybe a little more swampy looking, not as pretty, a little more, I don't know, maybe a few snakes in there. I don't know if I'd want to have a picnic right here, because right there near the picnic table is, oh my gosh! What the heck, Columbus? Seriously? I am not trying to be lunch for no alligator. What in the actual Hades is going on down there? So, I think it's time to just leave it there. I'm going to pull the plug on this edition of Joyful Trails. It's going to be a cliffhanger. You're going to have to come back to see if I get eaten by the alligator. So you'll have to watch part 2 of our review of the Chattahoochee Riverwalk to find out if I was actually attacked by alligators, and also to find out our score, our final impressions, and the score that we're going to give the Chattahoochee Riverwalk in Columbus. That's coming up next time. If you love great bike trails, remember to like this video, share it with friends, enemies, and random strangers. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, all that stuff. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Joyful Trails. I'm Scott Bachman. See you next time.